Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, everybody?
What is going on? This is AVHD podcast. You can tune in on Spotify, Bearcast Media, sometimes Twitch. We're not doing that today, but and then YouTube.
You can catch us for the Oscars this weekend, though.
Oh, no. Okay, yeah. We will get to that for sure.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to be doing that. But each and every week we go live, we record, and we talk all things multimedia, movies, TV, games, all things like that. But yeah, to your point, this Sunday is the Oscars.
Oh,
which is like
very exciting.
It's our Super Bowl.
We'll see.
It is our it's our official Super Bowl. So yeah, this weekend we're going to be going live and live streaming and reacting to those, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm joined by my co-hosts Logan Lusk, Allison Bailey, Madison Wilbur, and our very special guest, we have Nina Fraley. How are you doing?
Hi, Nina.
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
We're doing great. And Nina, hey, make sure that mic is like about a fist away from your face. You can scoot your chair in if you want. You got to get real intimate with the microphone.
Oh,
yeah.
The microphone is your lover for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah. You get the
Fuck yeah.
You get the and you can angle it down. Don't feel weird to get real nice and with it, you know what I mean?
Nice and snug.
So did you have any trouble finding the studio? I know you said you were like in the roundabout and it was a bit like
I have trouble finding literally everything I ever do. I'm the most directionally handicapped person you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Says the stunt woman.
Yeah.
We relate a lot in that way. So yeah, no, I thought it'd be really cool. So what we're doing this week is we're each going to bring in like our own topic to the table, and there's a lot of us here. Like I said, we got Maddie, we got Allison, we even got Ryan here, who's our producer. He might jump in, and we got Logan and all of us. But my topic, I'm like, Nina and I have been friends for about a year, and your line of work fascinates me. And
I have a lot of line of works.
You do have a lot of line of works, and they all are fascinating. But one of them is especially fascinating, and I want to talk about it. And I think it fits the show and our topics. So I'm gonna let you just dive into it. We can have a discussion about it. We can talk about it. But like, tell us what you do. Give me background on in terms of the stage choreography stuff. So
Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in performing arts and stage combat choreography.
Wow.
I got it out in Los Angeles, California. I graduated in 2.5 years.
Over in LA. Wow.
Yeah, so I did 3 semesters a year, and I literally just ate, slept, and drank,
and
fighting.
and ate shit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I didn't know you did it that fast.
Oh yeah, I powered house through it.
Wow.
Kind of like I do everything else. If I make it take too long, I get bored. So I have to do it fast.
I feel that.
Yeah.
If something takes too long, you
get bored with it. Yeah.
Sometimes I find interest in things that take a nice little like marinating sort of process.
Really? I don't know. I like to fight through things too.
I like that kind of thing. I don't like to rush through things.
But you got it. When was this? When you got this out in LA though?
I graduated February 2018.
Oh really? Okay,
so I've had it for a hot second. I still wouldn't call myself a professional either. I would say I'm still like learning at it. And I mean, I'm part of SAFD, which is the Stage Actor Fight Association.
Wow.
So,
that's super rad.
Yeah, so my specialty is unarmed fighting. I have my little certificate in that, but all the other ones I'm not certified in. I still practice them, but I'm not like fully certified, so I can't like teach them or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I do like assist teaching kids around Cincinnati unarmed fighting for like plays and productions and stuff like that. But I don't. Really cool. I'm not the teacher. I'm more of like an assistant teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And it helps me continue to practice like my craft, but I still wouldn't say like professional because it takes more than just 1 or 2 plays to call yourself a stage combat choreographer.
Yeah, and like stage combat, is that the term for like film, theater, all of it, or is that just for theater specifically? Like we're very ignorant to it. That's why it's so fascinating, especially.
Yeah. So stage combat is it's violence portrayed for stage and film. Yeah. So it's how to safely portray violence is basically what it is. And how do you take care of yourself and other people while portraying harmful acts. And that isn't just me punching someone, that's me falling. That's walking into a door. Like all those things are technically violence. It's any harmful acts on stage and film. So you technically should have a fight choreographer for anything on film or stage that involves anything that could potentially hurt yourself. Your body is very important, and it, and if you fall wrong for 3 years, then your knees are going to be messed up. Your back is going to be messed up.
I mean, that's why you guys are there, so the actors don't run that risk.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because like especially as an actor, like your body is your craft.
Right.
And if you mess up your body and your body doesn't work right anymore, then like you're going to have a shorter career. So to elongate your life and your career and just like body use, you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself.
Just out of curiosity, are there any forms of fighting that you like had to be taught for this sort of thing? Like when I was younger, I tried out karate, right? And I mean, I ended up bailing out because when I got shit wrong, my instructor, dude, he had this really dense wooden stick.
Yeah.
He'd whack you on the head with it. He'd give you a little bop if you did something wrong.
Are you serious?
I'm not even kidding, dude. And it was genuinely painful. Like it wasn't like stupid painful, but it was definitely like, damn, dude. Like you don't got to do that. That's why I ended up quitting karate. But are there any forms like that of fighting that you have to learn for this sort of thing?
Nothing required, and I would say there's pros and cons to knowing fighting techniques prior
like
to
real
learning.
ones.
Yeah, because like the pros would be that you understand the body language that you need to have for the combat scenes. You understand how it needs to look. But the cons is you're so used to contact.
Right.
You're used to actually physically fighting. And
That's
there's
weird.
a lot of stage combat is closer to magic than it is to fighting. It's sleight of hand,
We're like, ooh.
it's distance, it's how do I make it look like I'm hurting somebody when I'm 5 feet away from them.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now, you guys do a lot better than those fucks over at WWE. I never get sold on that shit. Not one time.
Really? Sometime when I was a kid, I bought it.
Well,
I bought it 100%.
Everyone except Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
They're actually like, it's actually pretty cool to think about. So it's the angles that you're fighting at which makes the tricks work. So the more cameras you have, the more angles you have to play to, the harder it is to sell certain tricks. So one trick might work for one angle, but another angle somewhere else, that trick isn't going to work at all. So that's actually more of an editing error than the fighter's error.
Oh.
Because if they're using a camera angle where the fight doesn't work, then that's not the fighter's fault. That's the people that are editing it that are going to be to blame, because they should have used a different angle for that.
That's so fast. I've never really thought about that.
I haven't either.
That's
Not
really
one
fast.
time.
So like something I was curious, Allison and I were talking about it earlier because we were talking about some like stunt choreography we really liked, and have you seen Parasite yet, Nina?
Yes.
You know when like the old woman, like she fucking like tumbles down the stairs and like
Yeah.
How is that?
That's
done?
insane stunt work, right? So what is like the differences between like a stunt woman or man, like a stunt person, versus like what you do? Is there a difference? Is that the same like umbrella?
I do that too.
Oh God. Okay.
I do some stunts, like I do like 8-foot building jumps and things like that.
Jesus.
But it depends on you and what you are comfortable doing. Like I know plenty of people that do fight choreography that don't like doing stunts because it's even safely, it's hard on your body and it's harder to do for long periods of time. 'Cause even though you're falling off an 8-foot building on a huge giant mat, you're still falling off an 8-foot building.
Right.
So like it still hurts.
So like kind of bouncing off of that, do like directors have a preference do they want their main actors and actresses doing their own stunts, or do they always prefer a stunt double? No, like honestly though, because I've heard
that's
like
a good question.
Yeah, because I know a lot of actors are like, no, like I have to do my own stunts, but like what do directors normally prefer?
Directors will do whatever's cheaper.
That makes sense.
So the thing with fight choreography, and if you ask someone who is in SAFD, they will tell you that you want an hour of stunt rehearsal for every 5 minutes in a fight.
Damn.
You want to, because 95% of the time you're going to have actors who have never fought before, who have never held a weapon before, who are being asked to do these crazy acts with another person and asked to do it safely and believably. And those are the hardest two things to get at the same time. You want it to be believable and you want it to be safe.
I just bonked my head on the microphone.
That seems to be the most difficult part about all of this, is not only making it believable, but exactly like you were saying, doing it in a safe manner, not just for the actors, but even you as the stunt people.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, can you name you're a movie person. We're both movie people, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, so like, is there any recent examples where you're just like, oh my God, like this is clearly either poorly done, and I'm not saying you got to talk shit about someone's work, because like to your point, it could be editing, but like just as an audience member, something you've noticed that's poorly done, or something like insider knowledge where like this wasn't handled well. I know you were sharing some examples from like the Joker movie recently.
Oh, the Joker makes me so angry.
What, can you
Don't get me started.
No, I want to get you started. I want to rev you up.
Yes, please do.
I want to know because I love that movie, so I need to know.
So,
let us know the tea, girl. Let's hear it.
There's been a lot of rumors and a lot of talk, and nothing is 100%. So I'm not going to say like it is or it isn't.
Yeah, grain of salt.
But there's been a lot of talk that Phoenix does a lot of his own stunts and that he does a lot of improv with his stunts.
Yeah.
And nothing makes me angrier than improv in stunts, because the way a fight works, if I'm going to punch you, first thing we need to do is establish distance. So we're going to say, I'm going to stand this far away from you. I'm going to hold my hand out, make sure that I can't actually hit you. We're going to say the camera angle is slightly behind you. We're going to make sure that we line it up correctly. And then I'm going to slow motion, do it, you'll react, and then we'll do it full time. That way we ensure that you're not going to step into the punch, that I'm not going to hit you, you're not getting clocked in the face.
Yeah, no, that's good. Makes sense.
But if I do that and then all of a sudden I'm randomly throwing a kick at you, and you don't know that that's coming,
right,
you have no way to prepare for that, and you could have taken a step and you could end up getting really hurt.
Yeah.
Especially when there's things like weapons involved, like bats and knives and anything that could potentially severely harm somebody.
Yeah.
The main thing that you always need to focus on first is safety. And not just your own safety, but your fellow actors' safety.
right.
And doing improvisation means that you have no regard for anybody's safety. And honestly, it's a little bit ridiculous.
Just out of curiosity, what scenes have you, in Joker specifically, have you overheard are those improv action scenes?
I've heard he did improv for almost all of them.
Really?
That doesn't shock me because Joaquin Phoenix is notorious for doing whatever the hell
He's
he
batshit
wants
crazy.
whenever he
Yeah.
wants. Like that's just
Right.
who he's notorious for being just a crazy guy.
The video
Yeah.
I watched with Todd Phillips explaining him, he actually went over that, like, Joaquin's stunt. I think he said something about how the only times they used Joaquin's stunt in the movie was in the beginning, whenever he's running after the kids, and he does that like slip thing whenever he turns into the alley. That's the stunt. Whenever he gets ran over by the taxi, that's the stunt double.
Well, you can't use a lot of the stuff if it's improv, because then you have actors that have no idea what's happening.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's weird. Yeah, Joaquin is notorious for that, and it's like as a director, I have pros and cons to that, right? So it's like if I was a director, rather. So like you're getting something awesome on camera, but then like if I was a producer, I'm like, this is kind of a nightmare, and like to your point, it's downright offensive and frustrating because like I remember like the Master, for instance, one of my favorite Joaquin Phoenix movies. He like smashes up like this authentic on location set,
Porcelain toilet.
Yeah, he's in like a jail and like beats the shit out of it and like
Yeah.
freaks out on camera, and like it's a great scene, but then they had to pay thousands of dollars to fix it afterwards, or what's his face, Kurt Russell beating up that antique guitar on like The Hateful Eight. So this takes it a step further though, because it's not prop management. It's like it's human beings. I mean, do you have any knowledge of other, like taking even Joker out of it? Are there some notorious examples where like things have gone really wrong or really right because a lack of training or anything? And I know like I'm putting you on the spot there. Like I wouldn't know. It's just I think it's fascinating.
Well, there's a couple movies where the main issue isn't the actors, it's the budget. A lot of problems are they don't want to give budget to the combat people, because especially in movies, time is money. And that's very, very serious. Like every certain amount of time is a certain amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And giving it to the stage combat people who want an hour for every 5 minutes in a fight, they're usually given 4 hours for the movie.
Holy shit.
And now you have to choreograph the entire movie, every fight, every hit, every fall, every like injury-induced thing in a certain amount of time. Some give more, some give less. It depends on the producer and the director.
Just out of curiosity, is that kind of like flexibility given to you guys as stunt people and the choreography? Is that more allotted for like action-specific movies where a lot of the movie is action? Like something like John Wick or something like that, just for example?
It depends, because you have directors who are very serious about safety, and they'll give you more time because they're like, I want it to look good and I want people to be safe. And then you have people that are like, I just want it to look good.
Yeah.
I don't care how you make it look good. I just want it to look good. You have this amount of time because that's the only time I can afford to give you. Do it. Like, for an example, this movie is absolutely terrible. Have you heard of the movie Birdemic? shock and terror.
No,
But it
sounds
sounds-
brilliant.
it sounds-
sounds amazing.
That sounds fucking awesome.
I think I've heard of that like on like the worst movies of 2019 list
like
or
B
something.
movie?
Like that.
Is it like a B movie
It's
type?
similar to The Room. Like,
Oh.
like that.
Yes.
So it's the same type of so
Yes.
bad it's like people watch it.
Right.
I
yeah.
did not.
For that.
Those kind of movies.
And it's called Birdemic Shock and Terror. It's on Blu-ray. There's 2 of them. And my teacher did the choreography for it.
There's 2 of them.
And there's 2 of them. Yep, he did all the choreography for both of them, and they gave him 3 hours to do the entire movie.
How long is the runtime? A couple hours?
Oh yeah, like 3 or something like that.
Holy fuck.
Like
Holy
it's
shit.
like it's terrible, and like they're like
Why-
swinging
why would
hangers
you-
at CGI birds.
Oh
and
no!
They-
Oh no!
They really cut the budget on the movie and did it as cheap as possible. And
I want
it
to see this
shows.
fucking
Our next
movie.
movie night is going to be this movie, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, Nina, bring you and your boyfriend come over and watch this
He
movie.
won't watch that stupid movie with me. He won't do it.
That's so funny. So how long have you been wanting to do this? I mean, I know you graduated with this in like 2018, but like, has this been a passion of yours for like how the hell does one get into this?
Right.
I was
Yeah, I've been
not
wondering
looking into
that.
it. I was not into it at first. I did a couple things in like high school with it, and I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I want to be an actor and a singer, and I want to be on stage.
Oh,
And the thing with fight choreography is that your background, and most people don't even know that you do it.
Right.
Like you're in the credits, but like unless you're a movie buff, people aren't really staying for the credits.
yeah.
And I did my first like real fight as a Romeo and Juliet Paris and Romeo in the Graveyard Scene rapier dagger fight was the first fight that I choreographed myself. And rapier dagger is one of my favorite sets because it's dual wielding, and then you have to look at distance for both weapons because a rapier is significantly longer than a dagger.
What is
So-
a rape? I don't know what the fuck that is.
Rapier, if I'm not mistaken, it's the really thin blade, thin long blade with like the cavalier sort of handle. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no.
Of course, Logan would know what that
Think
is.
Shakespeare.
What is that? Okay, think Shakespeare.
Think Shakespeare. It's those. It's the long, elegant. They look almost like if you were doing like fencing. But
Yeah.
they're elegant.
Right. Exactly.
And they're
Ooh,
they're
okay.
they're very like the big thing with rapiers is the showy.
Mhm.
It's like I'm showing off my ability, and then you have a dagger in the other hand. So you have to be very careful with distance, how you're doing distance for a staged fight. Because normally, if you're doing it, you're going to like cut to a certain area, they're going to parry, and then you'll slide in with your dagger to try to stab them. But you have to be, it's more of like a dance when you're doing it. And it's very much a dance for stage combat. A lot of people compare stage combat choreographers to dance choreographers.
That makes sense to me though. Yeah.
Because it's all about movement and memorization, and then the fluidness of the fight is what gives it that like professional look, and then the acting is what makes it visceral.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have that elegant dance for safety, and then you make it visceral with the noises and the movement and the way you make
I love the way
steps.
she's describing this. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, God, do people just look at you and be like, you have the coolest fucking job?
Most people are like, you're fucking crazy.
Oh, really? Dude, I think it's the coolest shit ever, dude.
You have to find people that don't think it's weird that you collect fucking swords.
As far as sound effects are concerned, do directors sometimes use the actual sound, or like as far as sound effects for fights, what is done?
Fun fact. So it depends on the weapon. So a broadsword, which is one of my other favorite weapons because it's two-handed. It's those big, big, big swords that they use for like knights and things like that. The cool thing about a broadsword is the versatility of the broadsword. So it's not just a regular sword because they're blunt. They were invented when people had chainmail. So they aren't for stabbing, they're for bashing.
Whoa.
Mhm.
So if people are wearing chainmail, the best way to harm them is to bash the chainmail and the armor on them to try to dent it to harm them. So they're heavy and they're thick, and you use two hands to really just like swing at them.
I'm so.
But they're dull. They're
Yeah.
not sharp. So you can hold them by the blade and use them as pickaxes.
Whoa.
And you can use them to pommel people. So
Take the wind out of them.
right.
Hunter's taking all this in.
I'm like, no, stop! Don't paint me as some serial killer.
Don't paint me as some serial killer.
I'm fascinated by this though. I just think that it's so cool that like to quote unquote fake something, because you're not faking it. It is a real thing you guys are doing. But like to do the illusion, as you put it. I just think it's so brilliant how much work, or little work, but how much thought goes into this.
It's a lot of work.
I said little work as in sometimes the productions don't allow you to do that work.
Yeah.
And like, I just think that's, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the time, it's one of those elements in films people don't really bat an eye at. Like whether it's good editing or sometimes it's good blocking and positioning. Like when it's done really well, you don't notice it.
When it's done really well, it happens fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you usually notice it, like, to your example, like when someone's swinging around at birds and like it's like, what the hell is happening on this camera right now?
Right,
like that
exactly.
kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone have any like other follow-up questions for her? Because I think it's just super fascinating.
I hear my favorite movie?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. I wanted to know if you had like a favorite movie.
I do have a favorite fight in a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So The Princess Bride is one of my favorite
Really?
movies of all time, and they have one of the most beautiful fight scenes I've ever seen.
I didn't see that coming at all.
So
and she describes it as beautiful.
It's beautiful, and here's where I get a little nerdy if I haven't yet. So The Princess Bride has that fight scene where he just climbs up the mountain and the two of them are there together, and this fight scene is beautiful for multiple different reasons. First of all, you have the fight itself, which is done, it's a swashbuckling sort of fight,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's still done romantically.
Right.
It's still done with that edge of performance, which is what those swords are meant to do. And so you have actors who are comfortable with the weapons in their hands. They're obviously like looking to make it a show.
Right.
You also have the acting layer underneath that, which is incredibly important. But then the fight itself has layers, and I mean physical layers. They climb up, they go down, they swing. They're doing these movements on different layers and levels. And so you have this like ballerina-like dance with swashbuckling in it that goes up and down and around and through, and you can tell that they're playing. And
I
want to
watch this scene right now.
I've never seen the movie.
You've never seen
I've
The
never
Princess
seen.
Bride?
I've never seen Princess
you
Bride
kidding
either.
me?
You
That
call
movie is-
yourself a movie buff.
I was gonna say I've even seen The Princess Bride multiple times.
Everyone has like a handful of movies that you get those reactions to. Where it's like, I've never seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's one of them. That's one of the most
That's one of
iconic
mine as
movies
well.
of all time. And I need to get around to doing it before you chop my head off.
That fight scene is gorgeous. The way that it's done, and you can tell that like the actors are very serious about like the fight as their characters, but they also are playing. And you can tell because like in the dialogue they discuss like oh yeah, you're very good, and it's like, oh yes, you are very good, and so they're playing with each other as characters and as actors, and they're just
Right.
having a good time.
Kind of gives me like a Pirates of the Caribbean vibe.
Yeah. Kind of.
Kind of. It's very unique. It's a very unique movie, and it's iconic for a reason.
I've seen it,
Yeah.
of course, in like a daycare, but I don't remember much about it. So,
Yeah,
like,
it's definitely not my favorite movie at all. A lot of people like worship this movie, but it's definitely something you need to see.
It's not my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, but it
it's
is
my favorite
iconic-
fight
like,
scene of all time.
It is
Wow.
iconic for a reason. There's a lot of dialogue in that movie that people repeat all the
you
time.
killed my father,
and
prepare to
quote.
die.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
See, I've not seen the movie.
Are
but
you
it's
the six-fingered man?
oh, wow, that was pretty good. Do you have a favorite movie of all time? Like easy? Like you could just tell me?
Oh God.
Because I feel like some of us have our fives. Like we have our top fives, and some of us, it changes any given year. So, like
I don't know if I could say I have a favorite one of all time. I do. I have this passion for theater itself and plays more so. I could tell you my favorite play before I could tell you my favorite movie.
man, you and Allison would hit it
Yeah,
off
say
so
what is
well.
your favorite play? I love I'm into all this stuff. So
There's a play based on Joan of Arc, and they do these broadsword fights in it that are just absolutely epic if directed the right way. And so any play with Joan of Arc in it is gonna be my favorite.
That's so funny because I've always thought Joan of Arc was one of those historical figures that like someone could make a really good fucking movie about, but like it just hasn't really been done.
yeah,
There's some plays.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I'm glad you said something about that. I'll definitely have to check those out.
That's rad.
Well, the cool thing about Joan of Arc too as a character is that as a choreographer, reading through scripts with her, you can see how much you can play with a broadsword because they have that versatility in it, and you can really the reason pommels are called pommels on the end of swords are because of broadswords, because you can hold it by the blade and pommel somebody with it. That's why it's called that.
No, I believe it.
I know that sounds crazy, but that's why it's
It
called
doesn't sound crazy. Your vast knowledge of all this
well,
stuff you work
rapiers
with.
are why there's to the point. The phrase "to the
Right.
point" is a rapier thing. It's to the point of my rapier. Get to the point.
Yeah. Damn.
Wow, I didn't know that either. Broadswords are damn heavy, if I'm not mistaken, aren't they?
Yeah.
A two-sword weapon, right?
Back
Yeah,
to
it's
what
one
you were
Zelda.
saying
It's the
earlier
big
that
one.
I didn't finish my thought on, the sound effects. So for example, with broadswords, so movies versus plays, you use different types of broadswords. For a play, you'll use the metal. They're heavier, and you get that sound effect, which is really powerful on a stage. But in a movie, it blocks out the acting. You can't hear the breathing. You can't hear like the other things happening around it, and
That's
it's hard to
fascinating.
control the sound of metal slashing. So they
Right.
use aluminum. They're not as heavy. They're actually incredibly light. You could lift it super easy. So
Wow.
in a movie like Lord of the Rings, where they have these heavy broadswords, they're acting that they're heavy.
Oh, man.
They're not actually
Wow.
heavy.
They
So when
sell that shit.
Yeah.
It's so cool when you see someone in a movie pick up a broadsword and they give it weight.
Yeah.
That's acting.
I didn't
That's
know
them
that.
Pretending like it has
Especially
weight.
when Aragorn, like, whenever Elrond returns to like his camp and like they reforge that big sword,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they
and he
do.
like unsheathes it and like grips it a few
Yeah.
times. I did not know that.
Or
That's
they
so
they
cool.
do that bounce thing where they
Right,
get it in their
yeah.
hands and they feel out the weapon.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That adds another depth of their acting that I was not aware of at all.
The two hardest things when it comes to acting as combat is playing weight of weapons and playing out your wounds. You'll see this a lot if you watch any sort of like movies or any sort of like TV shows that have fighting in it. Watch the actors, see what wounds that they get, if they're hit, if they're cut, any of those, and see how long do they play that wound for, and do they
Interesting.
play that wound after the fight? Because that is, a lot of people don't do that.
I didn't even think about that. That'll probably ruin so many
continuity
continuity
stuff.
things
it,
for me.
It does. It ruins a lot for you because you'll
Yeah.
see like that guy was cut, and I get that there's adrenaline, so he may not fully play it through the fight, but after the fight,
That
he
bitch
needs
should be
to-
hurting.
He needs to play those wounds. Right, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Nina, thank you so much for coming in and like chilling with us.
Yeah.
And,
Very
I-
much
I
so.
feel
Yeah.
like people would learn. Like, this is where can people find you? Where can people get more information about this?
Oh.
You know, like whether it's a gym you go to, it doesn't have to be your personal stuff, but if you want to give a plug to like how they can get involved in this or read more about it, just because this is so fucking cool. I
Yeah.
think people should have more access to this kind of information. I mean, do you want to plug your gym or your instructor? Or you go to
Yeah.
conferences all the time too. You're always going to like Chicago or
I
LA.
go to stage combat conferences. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to play.
Yeah.
It's just fun to like get in a room with people and have a quarter staff and just like whack each other a few times.
Damn.
That is cool.
That sounds
Um,
amazing.
As a plug, I mean, you could find me at Nina_Fraley on
How do you spell
Instagram.
your last name, just in case someone's illiterate?
Fraley.
Cool.
It's NINAFRALEY.
Yeah.
If you're looking to do combat stuff though, like I said, like I don't really view myself as a professional. It's something I'm passionate about, but I'm looking to get more practice. You can reach out. There's a few people in Cincinnati. SAFD is trying to get a Cincinnati union going. They don't quite have one yet. Most of my teachers are in LA, but there's someone here named John Baca. You can find him on Facebook. It's just John and then BACA. He is the person I apprentice for when I'm helping teach kids. So
Oh wow,
he works at NKU as like
cool.
in their theater department as a fight instructor there as well, and he runs this when Cincinnati has a fight.
He'll come over and do the same.
Yeah, when they have the conference, the fight conference here, it's called Cease and Desist.
Oh, cool.
It was called March Madness, but March Madness reached out and said they needed to cease and desist immediately. So now it's called Cease and Desist.
That's hilarious.
And it's in March, and it's here in Cincinnati. And you never have to fight before in your entire life. You could have never done combat before in your entire life, and you can show up. You can go for a day, you can go for the weekend, and they'll teach you how to do stage combat. And they have levels of like intermediate, beginner, advanced. Like I like doing the advanced knife fighting, but there's some
Jeez.
things that I've never done before. Like last time I went, I did collie sticks, and I did the beginner level collie sticks. I've never done them before. So you guys could go and do that too. And
I would-
Allison over here seems pretty damn
I'm
interested.
geeking out. Yeah, I'll be there.
This
It's
is
so-
all
it's so
hardwiring
fun.
into her brain.
I would
They
love to
They
do
do
that.
stunts. They have professionals come in from all over. There's one guy that comes to all of the ones I've ever been to, and he did all of the choreography for the show The Vikings. He's a pretty,
Oh, wow.
He's a pretty cool dude. He used to be
Know some people in love with that show.
Yeah, he used to be a bouncer for a club.
I thought you were about to say an actual Viking. I was like, holy
He
shit.
looks like a Viking. He looks like
used to be a Viking.
he looks like he could be Jason
Back in the
Momoa's
day.
brother. That man is big.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Nina, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much,
having me.
Thank you so
Nina.
much.
This was fun. We'll have you on again sometime.
Yeah, I have so many more
you
questions.
You have so much information. We need to dedicate more time to this.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I could talk for like days.
Yeah, we're gonna let you some time because that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be right back to
have
all
a
of
couple
us.
more topics.
Yeah, we're gonna dive into they're gonna dive into their own topics. So yeah, we'll be right back, guys. Give us a few minutes.